Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Walk, Talk, and Rock podcast show series. For today's topic, we'll be talking about Persona and the upcoming release and development of Persona 6. Oh man, why is my game not moving? Oh, there's maintenance today. Well, darn, alright. You just watch me play PalWorld today. I'm just gonna play PalWorld while I do this. So, today, each section is going to be about the Atlus history, how Atlus became what it is today, even though it was later acquired by Sega. And we're going to talk about how this weird RPG studio that became a big hit with a series, most notably Shin Megami Tensei, right? And then obviously the spin-off for Persona. And then later on they had Metaphor, but they've also made other games. In section 2, we're going to talk about the Shin Megami Tensei series itself. It's the more darker side of the game series. And then we're going to talk about how Persona was actually like a spin-off idea, and it just appealed more to the masses because it had more likable characters and more personable. It's Persona with problems that are easily relatable for people. And we're going to talk about the Persona games in general, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with theory crafting for 6. And they did release a trailer back in the month or whatever. And then, obviously, just Persona 6 predictions, how I think the game will turn out to be, maybe the direction for the game as they go forward. All right. So, with the first section, when Atlus started making video games, they were basically a small indie company, and they started out with really simple games, on like the games of the Famicom and things like that. And they actually started their first game related to Shin Megami Tensei in 1987, 1987. And I believe it was more of like a text and very simple graphical game. It was mostly text because even the earlier games that were coming before PlayStation 1 and PS2, they're like hallway room labyrinths kind of games. Mostly like Shin Megami Tensei 1. And it was like a strange and stylish take on gaming because it was still like an interactive visual novel, honestly, with a story. But it wasn't really something too crazy. God, I forgot how to play. I'm just not used to playing PalWorld instead of Faster. So, let's get to it. Atlus is not just the Persona maker game. They're kind of pioneering the way how plot is driven in JRPGs, especially. And when they were talking about how they like figure out the game and the identity of their brand, yeah, they mostly just went with Shin Megami Tensei, even though they had a lot of backlog of other games. Some of these backlog of games, like The Karate Kid, King of Kings, Bonk's Adventure, Quirk, they tried so many different types of games, but really people started knowing them for Shin Megami Tensei, which widely became popular on PlayStation in 2001. And this was basically the golden era of gaming, like I said, I believe, from PlayStation 1 to basically PlayStation, end of PlayStation 3. So a lot of people were able to experience this game, and the story is just something you've never seen compared to your power fantasy games, like in most of the JRPGs, obviously. So as that's going on, we also have the rare position where Atlus started using their mascot, Jack Frost, in the Shin Megami Tensei series. And that really took them to the next level, in my opinion. And so with that, when we think of most companies where they chase trends, they mostly make their games now based on psychology and more of the thinking aspects, which is actually really good and a smart marketing strategy because as if you capture the young audience and they grow alongside your series, it just has better attainment and value for people because it's just made that way. It's a game that makes you feel that you are growing mentally, psychologically, and you just feel like honestly, it kind of gives you the feeling that you just know more than other people with the way the game is just kind of brought up or played upon, which is okay. I'm not complaining about that aspect. It's okay to feel that way, I guess. There's nothing wrong with that. It only becomes a problem once everybody starts feeling the same way as that, which then becomes a problem. So I'm gonna put this somewhere else. I don't know, I just don't have any space in the base. So anyway, for Atlus, they were kind of studio that basically gave everybody therapy unbeknowingly with their crazy psychological stories. And before Persona happened, with the stylish school life RPG that they are mostly catering now to teenagers and young adults, we're going to talk about the more in-depth detail of Shin Megami Tensei itself. It is a very dark series, like I said, challenging people psychologically and mentally. And what it looks like a JRPG, it has a lot of religion and a lot of basic morals that challenge you in a way with crime, violence, and all that. So it's a very mature take on the world that's not to be lightly taken, in my opinion. I'm still gonna need this, honestly. And so, when we think about Shin Megami Tensei, we think about oh man, gore, violence, really, really dark things, and nothing more, right? But there's obviously more to that in Shin Megami Tensei than those kind of, I guess, aspects of the game itself. But when we think about something like that in that scale, we are always reminded that, that even though you experience the game for what it is, it's not really true in some senses because it has a lot of contradicting points in the stories when we play the game. There's a lot of twists. So for the main core of the game, it's mostly about demons that originate from people's insecurities and hatred, and you subjugate these demons in order to free people's mind so they can experience and learn from it. So there's a lot of mythology. You face a lot of law and chaos routes or choices throughout the game. And it feels like you're growing with the series, like I said, because there's certain choices you can make, especially in Shin Megami Tensei 2, that really can lead to endings that vary on your personality. And it's so cool because you have all these magical items, magical skills, gods and demons, and that's how they came upon with Jack Frost, the fairy sprites, and all those cool demons, I guess. And a lot of these demon designs are based upon like mythology, and you also have systems later introduced, like the fusion system, putting two demons together in the compendium to make new demons and inheriting skills. So like the early idea, I feel like was kind of borrowed from maybe early Monster Rancher and Digimon vibes. If Digimon or Monster Rancher were to take a more adult take, it would be Shin Megami Tensei, because it's very dark. And sometimes people will not probably like it because I feel like sometimes the developers will force their own opinion into the game, even though you can just disagree with their opinion entirely, and sometimes it doesn't have to be true, which is okay. It's not really a big deal. What else? So I'm just thinking about how am I going to place this anyway. I'm thinking about the laptop. Just gonna put it back down here because I need two of these. I'm butchering so many pounds. I found it now. My focus a bit. So when people think of Shin Megami Tensei, they were mostly referred to the darker version of Persona. And a lot of people don't even really play Shin Megami, but man, Shin Megami Tensei is just a better game in general. And you should really try Shin Megami Tensei if you haven't already. So, as far as the Shin Megami Tensei lore goes, it's mostly in the time of like apocalypse, demon negotiation, gods, and destruction. Oh my god, I almost pictured that. My favorite. And whereas Persona is more lighthearted, with school life, more about friendship, a lot of things that kids look forward to when you're growing up, being able to find a group of other people to hang out with. But like, behold, in my situation, it's honestly, it's like SMT would be saying, honestly, it's just life thing. You get older, you have less people to be friends with, and it feels like life is never in your favor when you're getting older. And for average people, it's just how it is. No one really wants to be around people that are average or below that. Because some people are tired of that and they just want to be up there, successful, whatever, living in their fantasy, even though it's kind of unattainable at this point most of the time, statistically. And that's what Shin Megami Tensei caters towards, more of those kind of adults, or gamers in general. So the game was intended for mostly adults, in my opinion. But Shin Megami Tensei wasn't the end of the world for that series. And I guess what happened was, like, when Atlus wanted to market the game, of course it would not be popularized in advertising and media. So I guess they started to shift the brand to a more lighthearted approach, but still have some really good themes and moral compasses. And that probably led to the Persona series, which we're going to briefly talk about right now. So like Persona 1, 2, 3, and 4, it still started off dark, like in Persona 1 and 2, but you can tell that they were going to a different direction, with more interpersonal problems and helping people by popularizing situations and events that most people would experience in life and offering alternative solutions as you work through these arcs or quests throughout the game. Most notably in Persona 2, and then later to Persona 3, where they focus mostly on gameplay and mechanics. Basically turn-based style mechanics, and each demon having their own affinity and weaknesses and all that. So they really built their system around the day and night system. Basically, like you're living a day one at a time in the game, which is very cool. So Persona works because the monster is never just a monster. The monster is usually something human. So they say that. And most of the demons and monsters throughout the Persona series comes from people's insecurities, right? Basically negative characteristics that people experience throughout life. And that's extremely relatable, in my opinion. And so easy to know. Because, I mean, no matter how many times you think about it, there's always someone out there struggling. There's always someone out there experiencing the same thing you're experiencing. And honestly, it doesn't really bring me that much surprise in that regard. So I think that's like really good. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to break that up. I don't know why you made this. Just let me look. I'll move it into here. I'm reading it in here. Damn, my base is like jam-packed. Well, I'm basically in the post-game, end-game here, so we're just trying to make good pals and stuff for end-game rating and stuff. That's what I'm doing. So for the recent modern Persona games, I mean, even I think Atlus is getting kind of tired of all this friendship stuff, to be honest, even after Persona 5 and the modern school setting. We're trying to appeal to like young teenagers and maybe early college goers. Because like, I feel like the audience just grows out of it. And now that most of the demographic today is not really focused that much, and they don't really have the attention or dedication to even play most video games for a long time or dedicate time and effort to them. So I think that's why there's been recent changes in their game. So Persona is not popular because it has demons. It's actually popular because it makes these demons and the problems these people face more emotional, like I said. And now we're gonna go into like how the Persona games transform, right? So in a different sense, Persona 1, like this game, if it were to be a book or a movie, it would work actually, because I feel like each Persona game has a different main encompassing theme that really just sets apart each of the game series in a way that's not brand new, but just fresh, you know? So Persona 1 is all about revelation. This first persona begins with this cool urban occult identity. And the first person dungeon crawling, like I said, like the labyrinth kind of dungeon maneuvering, kind of like that one famous game. Is it Doom? No, not Doom, sorry. There's a game like that where why can't I remember the game? I think it's Doom, like the very first version of it. So basically, you just go through a labyrinth and you just fight monsters and solve mysteries and find key items and clues and whatnot. And that was the gist of it. So there wasn't really anything too crazy there, in my opinion. And so you would experience all that. And you would either really like it or you just really hate it because it's honestly a tedious grind. Honestly, the older Persona games are very tedious. And it started evolving to Persona 2, which is more about innocent sin. Basically, the thought of that some people would like do things that they don't think is, in their opinion, a sin. But because I guess people didn't really think about things of butterfly effect or side effects or hidden consequences, the cost of opportunity and choices that matter and your interactions with other people. It was like a hidden pleasure type of thing, and you would be punished. And it was actually a much more darker theme because I believe Atlus didn't really get that popular with the first game, so they just decided to go all out, honestly. And this is where the series itself proves that it's socially infectious. People that played it actually started believing in what those games message delivered, which could be a good or a bad thing. But honestly, every once in a while, you could be able to decide for yourself. Okay, you should be able to do that much in your daily life. Hold on 1 second. So for the next Persona, this is where the series really took off. Persona 3 literally had transformed graphics, transformed mechanics, super interesting day and night system, and it was just extremely popularized in Persona 3, in my opinion. And a lot of JRPGs or people that were looking to have this kind of system kind of started copying them, but in my opinion, to no success. I'm not really sure what kind of JRPGs they were, but there's probably a lot of notable ones. But I can't really think of it off the top of my head. So Persona 3 was really huge. It had the calendar system, like I said, social links, and you had like battle combinations. And you had this routine of doing certain things in the morning, I guess lunch, afternoon, and then evening. And then you have like free time. So you basically had to plan out your day. And here it matters because you're also progressing in the dungeon, the Tartarus Tower, I guess. And your main goal was to complete it before all the calendar days I think it's the summer vacation or over, or something like that. All the characters were interesting. Like, what's the girl's name? Miru or something? And then we had all these other characters. Oh, I can't even remember their names. And Aegis and things like that. And then we transformed from Persona 3, where it became more modern, to Persona 4, the biggest hit in the entire series. And that's still getting more alternative titles than any other JRPG that I know. And with Persona 4 Rebirth, is it Rebirth or Revival or something? Man, this is a great time to be a Persona 4 fan. Like Chie, Rise, or Naoto. Maybe they'll put in some new characters, who knows? I mean, they added Marie, which wasn't really part of the original game, but they added more characters. Akechi is a pretty good antagonist to the series. So the formula for what Atlus was doing is more established, Persona 4, and it was more driven towards mystery and focused on a smaller setting. But the problems you faced in that game were huge. And it was just interesting, because it spanned different demographic types, from young children to elderly people. That's something you don't ever see in most video games, especially when it comes to JRPG and their fantasy, like power fantasy, like setting. Okay, so that's why it was popular, because people just want to know, like, so that's how most people act or treat each other. And like I said, there's always a cult following that take these things kind of seriously, which is okay. And you basically have to solve these murder investigation series for each arc of each person that joined your party, right? And it was just interesting in general. It's like Scooby-Doo on crack, honestly, if I were to say that. It was Scooby-Doo. And then we go to Persona 5, where they just added more to their already fine-tuned the formula of JRPG making. Which is okay. I'm not complaining that it's bad or anything. Oh, this is a bad way to farm. Normally you bring pals and creature drop rate. It's okay, just farm around here. I need holy water. So, Persona 5 really solidified Atlus's mastery. And this is where they later got acquired during this time by Sega. Because even though they were having so much success with their games, I think one of the main reasons Atlus even did this acquisition was just because of logistics, distribution, and marketing. Like, they have good games. Atlus has good games, but they don't have really strong marketing, distribution, and logistics. I guess it was a fair acquisition, and Sega really had good financials back then. With Sonic and everything, but I don't know about now. And then over the coming years, you had spin-offs to these series of Persona, like Persona Q, Persona Dancing Games, Persona Arena, Persona Strikers, even the mobile game. So it was Persona fans were eating good from like 2012 to even 2023, I would say, because now they even started another spin-off of their own original game, Metaphor, which I did play and highly recommend. It's a pretty decent game with a interesting power fantasy story. So really, the pattern for Persona 3 was death, time, and melancholy. It was a more like game centered around like struggles, like around depression, I would say. Because I mean, like when you summon your Persona, you literally shoot yourself in the head with a gun, which is probably kind of not passable in today's standards, It's just weird. And then Persona 4 is about the truth, friendship, truth, camaraderie, relationship, which is nice. Cozy vibe right there. And Persona 5 was mostly about rebellion, mysteries, and thieves. Which is great. Like, they really experiment with different themes in the genre and expanding the JRPG scope and just displaying their mastery at crafting unique world settings while still using a lot of recycled demons, mind you. Like, they literally have the same demons in like every game. Like Jack Frost is always there, Kodama, every spirit, Archangel, Okami, Inazumi, like all those, and then it also has like banger ass music and like goddamn Shin Megami Tensei and Persona has some of the best soundtracks ever. Well, I love the music, especially in Persona 4. Like Evermore always hits. I really like the music. The composer did a really good job. I hope they're rich and famous. So now I kind of talked about the gist of each Persona game. We're going to talk about Persona 6 and what I think is going to carry on for the history of that series. So you can see already there was a trailer for the game. It didn't really say much. It's very short. But if you were able to decipher some of the parts, I mean, it's really simple. The main question was like, who are you? I'm guessing it's going to its more dark suited roots, like Persona 2. That's right. I think Persona 6 might be in the theme of like Persona 2, alright? Which I think is gonna be good, because we're back there again with the innocent sin. I mean, that's what a lot is corruption today. So like maybe like corruption of sin or something. And maybe we're gonna have some twists on things that question what's that word? Not morality. I just questioning choices you subconsciously make, right? Who knows? I don't know. We didn't really get to see too much about it. I didn't see if there's anything about it in recent news. I mean, there's some work in progress leaks. I mean, the characters are more reminiscent of Persona 2, in my opinion, with their simplistic designs and whatnot. Which is fine. So they're gonna explore that aspect again. Which is, I think, may not be that controversial, because at the end of the day, it's just a video game, in my opinion. So, Persona 6 is going to be impossible, because the expectations are obviously high for the Atlus game studio, whichever subsidiary sister studio is working on it, which is very understandable, you know. So, like, I think what's going to really happen, since we basically covered a lot of things that make Persona, I think they're really going to have to jump off the deep end with this story and setting. It might focus more on things that we see today, like social media intertwined into our lives. I think this one will be mostly related and catered to themes such as, or to show like Black Mirror. So it's going to be focused on more feelings of person, like identity crisis, loneliness, AI, technology, and just more feeling that the world is being separated in a way with propaganda and news and things like that. So, I mean, in the modern world, people get tired of that, so at least they burn out. So I think it's going to be a real general shift into that direction. Knowing that most of the fans of Persona series are probably in their 30s to 40s, and even the younger generations from probably 12 to 20 are already experiencing a lot of mental distress, I guess, or showing some sort of mental aptitude. Like, there's a lot of understanding kids today, and maybe for some adults, not really. But hopefully, when this game comes out, people will be able to experience a different taste of what life delivers and consequences for choices of just anything in general in that game. Oh, I forgot to get my oars to work. That's okay. So, prediction for number 2 is the color. Obviously, I feel like the game will go back to that color scheme with mostly green and very muted colors, since it's going to be taking that kind of route, right? You know, if we're going to talk about loneliness, we want colors that express loneliness. And I think the theme is not going to be as colorful as Persona 4 or 5, but more true to Persona 2 or even 1, I guess. I guess. Not really. Which is fine. I have to get my Orser because that one's a low level. So, as much as the color matters, I think the setting is going to be in a more metropolitan type of city. Once again, and unlike Persona 5, or sometimes you could travel to like the metro or whatever and clear mementos with Morgana the cat that transforms into a bus, which is pretty funny. I feel like this one is gonna have maybe something similar in the mechanic. Honestly, that could work still because it's literally its own gameplay mechanic, so they probably could have it and just add on to that. So I don't think they can really do anything new there personally. Wait, where's my Orchard? There it is. I don't even need the Blazer Snake. Oh my god, it's out of range. What? Awesome. So then, another thing is the social system. Maybe it might not even be worked on. Like compared to Persona 5, they really put a lot of effort into like the tarot cards. When you unlock like the Hangman, Greed, or whatever, the relationships with different NPCs. I don't think there's going to be much change in that. Maybe they'll add more choices, and if they do, to decide on AI chat features or whatever, that would be an interesting take, right? Get a more intricate feel for all that, and having your choices matter, and forming their relationships with each tarot-tied link system. I guess. I don't really have much to say about that. I don't think it's amazing. It's just kind of tedious or tiresome because, like, if you play the Persona games all the time, like I have, it's kind of like whatever. But it's nice. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I like seeing your character develop with the main character and strengthen not only the story lore, but even like the battle system. What would be interesting is if, like they had in Metaphor, where, I don't know, you were able to see tips of what people did throughout the day. Maybe they could add something like that again in Persona 6 so people can see what kind of choices they made. So I hope they add a lot of choices so it can vary your gameplay throughout the game, honestly. And hopefully they open up more styles to this. Because if you're going for specific endings, most of the time you have to make certain choices during the day, and just really locks you in into like a min-max way of playing a game. And I really don't like min-max that much. It's just really boring. Why would I want to do that, right? No holy water. Okay. So for the dungeons, I think that it'll probably be the same but more psychological. So basically, you'll probably it's probably not going to be that much different, honestly. Someone's going to have an emotional breakdown, and you're just going to enter their spiritual dungeon, subjugate the demon. I don't think anything's going to change there. It's basically always been the same. Maybe there's going to be more optional routes. Maybe the way they design the maps will be more free. Because most of them are basically labyrinth-style maps, from their earlier days. You just explore a maze or whatever, then you just go from point A to point B, and that's it. Hopefully they'll add some more dynamic-looking maps and things like that, and more puzzles. To give you a sense of achievement throughout the way of the game. The combat will probably stay the same, probably turn-based. In terms of combat systems, Final Fantasy or Square Enix really took the throne on all of those. You know, did real-time action, turn-based, ATB, action time-based. Literally everything could go. Square Enix has already done, and we already seen what kind of battle systems are really popular in today's modern gaming phenomenon or era. So I don't know if they're going to change the turn-based style, but maybe it will have an adaptive turn-based style like Expedition 33. Now, I haven't played Expedition 33 because I feel like the parry system would be too hard for me. I'm not really a fan of trial and error gameplay. I feel it's like I'm wasting my time, so I would have to watch beforehand, to parry and dodge and all that, which is cool. It's something fun and unique. But at the end of the day, for me, it feels annoying. You have to master a mechanic just to play a game. And I just play games to have fun. Okay? So hopefully it's not too punishing as Expedition 33, but more adapted and dynamic in a way that's still rewarding and fun. Like maybe we can still fail a counter or whatnot. It just makes the enemy do a critical hit, but you can still recover. Because in turn-based games, there's really not much variety. You know, there's always the same formula. Defend, heal, buff, attack, or some other formula. Heal, buff, defend, attack. It's just really boring in my opinion. But if they do decide to go like an active battle system, action combat, maybe they'll take them Persona Strikers. So I think this cast, moving on, I think this cast would be more targeted towards college. So like 20 to 30 years old. Whew. Maybe they'll have a lot of dark things about that, like depression, and is tied into that too. And like I said, tied to technology, kind of like Black Mirror, like I said, so nothing too crazy. And Persona 6 is going to be in a world where everyone is technically connected. You know, we are all connected due to everything, and there's crazy people out there mixed into this population, right? You know, everyone here, you don't know, is a psychopath, whatever, but who freaking cares at the end of the day? And nothing's really going to bother you that much. Everyone just goes about their day. So that's the saying that everybody is socially aware of each other, but deep down, we're all emotionally and maybe thoughtfully like unconnected or unavailable, you know, emotionally unavailable to other people because shit, everybody knows what they're going to be doing every day. Like with the routine too, and the technology, it just amplifies that effect, right? Back in the days, you'd probably see your friends like once a week or something. I guess, or because like you would only meet them when you're physically at the location together. But these days, you could be taking a shit in the bathroom, and you can be texting or on call with your parents or your friends, and you never miss a heartbeat. Like if you really want to, there could be a day in your life where a heartbeat goes to waste, where you're not like communicating in text or message or call with anybody. Like there's literally no excuse. Like if you're communicating with people, there's no excuse. Well, not too much of an excuse to not be able to communicate with anybody in a timely manner or fashion, unless you're purposely ignoring people, which is fine. I have nothing to say about that. It's just the way you treat other people. Oh wow, a lot of meme mobs are here. This is a good place for dog coins. Okay. And finally, the last part about Persona 6 is, I think, the transformative style for Persona 6. You know, I mean, if you're going to keep using what they did in Persona 5, you know, the whole transforming massive things, I think Persona 6 will be more about, I mean, they really do have some sort of 7 god deadly sins. But maybe the transformation I don't know. I can't really tell. It's literally what I feel like whatever they want to do. But if we're talking about Persona 2, I think it's gonna be more on mutation and evolution. So they'll have two alternate forms. Like each character will have two alternate forms, right? They'll have their sinful form, and they'll have like their desired true form. You know? I don't even know if that makes sense. So like they'll have the original form that you saved them from, and then they'll just have the form of their like desired, whatever. Like, oh, this guy is gonna be based on greed, so his specialty is like money moves or whatever. I mean, definitely they're gonna take what made Metaphor with Fantasia successful and put into Persona 6. That's what I think. While still combining Persona 2 together. So it's literally going to be an amazing game. And it's going to be like about loneliness, depression, anxiety, being online all the time. So they're definitely going to have like the flow mechanics still in Persona 5 with me. So I think that's pretty much it for Persona series and Atlus in general. Honestly, I don't think Persona itself or Atlus itself is in any trouble. I feel that their games have been mildly successful, and they'll continue making, wow, really good games. So I'm not too worried about if this game fails or not. God damn it. Also, this palette is really bad to max because I can't even hit the flying palette, so yeah, really horrible. So I guess that's pretty much it. Persona became a legendary series because honestly, I think it just transformed with the generation of people that played Persona series. You know, it literally went from like Persona 3, school, more school, and then like entering college. And now, Persona 6, more focused on adult life. So it's pretty funny. And yeah, they'll probably still make Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, and maybe they have the Metaphor, but I think that was just an experimental title. Because they probably got bored of doing the formula or Persona series. But yeah, that's my thoughts and theory on Persona 6 in general. And I don't really have anything. We'll just wait for more official announcements. And don't expect Persona 6 to be all rainbows and butterflies. That's all I'm saying. Expect to be absolutely psychologically wrecked. See you in the next video.